Lawin Media Network,
bringing to you the most relevant content across all platforms.
business, legal, politics, health, lifestyle, and entertainment.
Your source for all the news and updates in the greater Houston community from Texas and all over the world.
Get informed and empowered with Lawin Media Network.
Oh, excuse us, having a little technical difficulty this evening. But good evening, everybody, and welcome to Pink Table Talk. I'm your host, Dr. Carly D., a doctorally prepared nurse, educator, mentor, professional development specialist, and victims advocate and thriver. The show is produced by Lawin Media Network, and you can catch us live every Wednesday at 7 o'clock Central, either through our Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitch TV, and on all podcast platforms. Tonight, I'm so excited to be with you all. This is the beginning of Breast Cancer Awareness Month, one of my favorite months. I call this the Pink Month, and so you guys all know that I love pink. And so I'm just so excited for this month. And I just wanted to remind all the women out there that this month is Breast Cancer Awareness, and to please get your annual screenings, get your mammograms, and continue to do your breast self-exams every month. Remember that the key is early detection. Early detection helps to save lives for those who may be affected by breast cancer. So please. Also, I'm excited to share that I am doing a breast cancer charity later this month on October 25th. Here in Houston at one of the hottest growing nightclubs, Ladies Love Levels. So please definitely come out, wear your best pink, and show your support for those fighting and living with breast cancer as we raise money and have a great time at this wonderful event hosted by the one and only Melissa Sneed. Also, I'm so excited to share, also in the spirit of breast cancer awareness, I'm so excited and so honored to share with you all that I have been nominated and voted into a leadership board position for the Beyond Pink Foundation for Breast Cancer Awareness and Advocacy. So I'm so happy to be a part of this board. They are doing great things, and they are trying to continue to raise awareness, education, and funding for those affected by breast cancer. So much great news tonight. I was recently selected by Marquise Who's Who as a top educator for 2025-2026. So I'm so happy and humbled and honored to be able to be a part of these elite professionals who have been voted and nominated into this category. So I thank all of my students and all of those who have been supporting me through the years in a field that I truly love, which is education. So I'm so honored and happy to have received that award. Yay! So this is so exciting. I'm so happy tonight that I'm bringing back one of our favorite guests who is also my mentor. He helped me get through the rigorous doctoral program so that I too can become a doctor just as he. So I would like to welcome back to the show my mentor and my friend, the wonderful Dr. Gary Shelton.
Way. Welcome. I'm honored and humbled, of course, to be back.
Oh, thank you. We're so happy. We're so happy to have you. And I love having you on the show. You're so fun. You're so smart. But everybody, keep your eyes on him. He likes to change his glasses. He has so many different frames. I was watching the episode one day, like maybe weeks after we filmed, and I said, wait a second, is he changing his frames? And so I noticed during the episode, you might have had 3 to 4 different pairs. So how fun. And so I'm wearing my glasses today in your honor.
Perfect. Good.
Yes, yes. So, Dr. Shelton, what's been happening in your life since we last spoke earlier this year? I know you've written a new book, Pain to Purpose. So tell us about that and what was the inspiration behind this new book?
So, well, I want to read something first from one of the early pages in the book. It's called, "Oh, Wait, That Was Never Me."
Wow.
The scarring from abuse is like a tattoo. It may fade, it may be hidden from others, but it remains forever a part of each victim. And like a tattoo, the pain, though numbed, is intense when remembered. I've been writing this second book my whole life, of course, because it talks about growing up in the middle of the country and having an opportunity to be bullied by many people because of my differences. And yet somehow I made it through and felt like it's a story that needs to be told. Probably now more than ever, although I'm afraid I could get arrested by just standing up for the rights that we all should have. But the title of the book, "Oh, Wait, That Was Never Me," the bully effect and its effects. I thought that, none of us see ourselves as others see us. And yet, if somebody can see me and they say, well, that's what I look like. I see myself and I don't see the same person the next day. I wrote a letter recently to friends and I said, have you ever seen yourself walking towards yourself? Have you ever seen yourself walking away from yourself? So really, do you see your front other than in a mirror? Do you ever see your back, your rear end, or the back side of you, which probably none of us do? But the people who see us see that same person all the time. And yet, that's not who I see, because my insides are what I think are on the outside. So the book really, a long story short, too late. Oh, wait, that was never me. What I thought I've always looked like, how I think I present myself, is not at all what you see. And yet what you see is always the same me. And I think that's just amazing. And probably like well, duh, of course everyone knows that. But for me, that was a story to tell. So the me I always thought I was, the me I always thought I presented, oh, wait, that was never me.
Wow, that's so interesting and that's so deep, and I think I've had those moments too throughout my lifetime where maybe we are putting on a facade or a show for others, because we're so afraid to show who we truly are. But in my lifetime, especially after 30, I feel like after 30, we stop caring as much.
I'm not sure about that, but...
Well, at least for me, I feel like 30 was my awakening, where I was like, you know what? Who am I? And why am I pretending for others' approval? And so I started to live myself, and I kind of had that same moment, like, wait a second, that's not me. Who is me? And so we have those kind of moments of reflection where we start to truly tap into who we are and our identity. And so I feel like that's what it resonates with me when I hear that.
Yes. I mean, I think that's really also what the book is all about. It's about me, of course. It's about third grade when I was, bullied. It's about seventh grade when I was called a pansy. It's about high school when I was the last one picked, for basketball. But it's not really about me either, because as you read the book or as you think about what I'm saying, I'm really asking you to reflect on your own life. And, that whole self-reflection thing. I'm talking about somebody making me really uncomfortable. But you're reading what I wrote, and you're really thinking, I know that story because I felt it too. Or I know somebody who felt that story. When I was beginning to write the book, I asked friends and family that have known me, since I was born, because I thought, maybe I'm like people and I have suppressed some of the horror that I grew up in. Turns out I didn't. I remember every moment. But as I was talking to friends and family, they weren't aware that I was bullied at all. And yet
Wow.
what they shared were their own bully stories. So I was amazed by that.
Yes, it's so amazing. When we think about it, a lot of people have blinders. They're so self-focused on what their own journey and experiences that they really don't have any clue as what another person next to them may be going through. And so, I feel that even for myself, when I talk to my siblings, I have a lot of siblings, and I'm like, oh man, childhood was rough. And they're like, what are you talking about? They don't even understand. And I'm like, it's so interesting to see that we could have lived and shared the same childhood home, same childhood schools experiences, but our journey and the things we felt and what we remember from that, it can be different.
Absolutely. I mean, that just goes to show we are all an individual. Even if you're an identical twin, you are an individual. So yeah, I was really surprised when my sister, for example, a few years older than me, and so she was popular in her way. I was popular in my way until I wasn't popular. I was the class clown until 5th grade. Then I didn't develop into that muscular football player, so I became less of a class clown, and there's more of being, an object for bullies. But my sister, I thought, surely saw everything that I had gone through, like you're saying. She wasn't aware of it at all.
Yes.
Very interesting.
Wow. What was that experience like when you find out that she didn't really understand or see or notice the pain you were going through?
That's a good question. It's almost like, had she known, would that have made it easier for me because I would have had the support? Or had she known, might that have made it worse? I don't know. A friend read the book and she was saying, because I talk about being bullied, I talk about, I wish I had said, or I wish I had done. So I kind of give that little scenario, which I never would have done because it would have brought more attention to myself and I would have been embarrassed and I would have ran home naked. But to think that was happening with no one knowing it. But a friend was reading the book and she was saying, it really sounded, Gary, like you had a lot of support. Yeah, people weren't nice to you all the time, but you got through it so smoothly and you became who you are. And you must have had a lot of support. But Carly, I was my support. I didn't talk to my mom and dad about this. I've never, of course, they're gone now and I can't. They would read this book and know more about me than they probably ever did. I didn't have any support from anyone because I didn't tell anyone anything. Again, like I thought everyone knew. I thought, when the person called me a pansy in 5th grade and I had to ask my friend Julie, what's a pansy? Because I didn't know the term. Of course, she explained to me and then I got it. But I thought everyone was pointing and laughing and maybe they were, and maybe they weren't. But the strength I got from that was totally internal. Somehow I thought I had a reason to be here. And I still do feel like I have a reason to be here and I'm not done yet or I'd be dead. But that support piece was totally internal. And I wonder if that's what other people have and they don't realize the support that they could have if they reached out, or would it be better not to and keep it internal? And I don't know. Not everybody lives through it. There, suicide and everything from being, pointed out as being different. So I guess I'm lucky from that point of view, but the support was totally my own.
Wow. Yes, I can resonate with that and I can relate to that. You know, growing up too, I also faced bullying, really deep, heavy bullying, and I did kind of just encourage and supported myself. You know, I feel like my siblings, they weren't having those experiences, neither were my parents aware. And I didn't really want to burden them. I feel like, you know, you can burden people with talking about your problems, you know. And so I just kind of kept it to myself, you know, and I just kind of internalized it. But through that, eventually I grew strength and grew, you know, my sense of self and self-esteem out of that. And then I think about it, you know, what you said, you know, what if I had told somebody or, you know, one of my siblings even. I know my younger sibling, Janine, she would have went to fight somebody.
Right. And I don't know if that would have helped.
Yes. And so she was always ready to fight. Oh, you bothering my sister Carly? You know, she was one of those. She was always ready to go at, you know, at somebody. And so I'm kind of glad I didn't, you know, tell her every little thing, you know, because, you know, then we would all got in a lot more trouble. But, you know, I think there is some strength in kind of building that self-resiliency, building that self-talk, kind of talking yourself through that pain and through those moments, you know. And I think I owe that and those moments today to the confidence and kind of the resilience that I have today. You know, I do believe and support in, you know, reaching out, you know, talking about things to people. But I also feel like we should also try to work things out on our own too at times.
Well, I mean, we should be our own best friend, of course. And there are times when we absolutely are alone. My fear always was, I mean, in writing the book, and I'm saying, like I'm remembering an episode and I'm thinking it through. And I think even while that was happening, I was thinking, I should do this, or I wish I had. And I thought it even at the time, why didn't I call out this person and make them feel bad? But what I think and worry, and I still think in the life and, you know, wars and everything that happens, if you call out a bully, maybe they will apologize. Maybe they will be nice for a minute, but I can't help but think they are working out how they're going to get back at me and make it even worse. So I don't know if a bully ever changes. They're not going to like cry and say, "Oh, Gary, I'm so upset that I upset you." And then we're best friends for the rest of our lives. I don't think that happens very often. Maybe it does once in a while, but that was my fear all along. I will make it worse for myself if I stand up for myself in front of this bully, because that's not going to make a difference.
Wow. That's so interesting. And I definitely want to dive deep into that because you said a lot there and you said some good things there that I want to dive deep into. But we're going to go ahead and take our first break of the evening. But everybody stay tuned for more Pink Table Talk with the one and only Dr. Gary Shelton.
In a world filled with fleeting moments, there's beauty waiting to be captured. My name is Christian, and I specialize in immortalizing your most precious memories, from elegant weddings to vibrant events and timeless portraits. I'm here to make every moment unforgettable. Let me tell your story through the lens. Contact me today and let's create magic together.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Pink Table Talk. Tonight, we are talking with Dr. Gary Shelton, cancer nurse practitioner by day, author, and eyeglass extraordinaire by night. We have a comment from our audience member, Mimi DeVera. She's one of our devoted viewers. She said that it's sad that re-traumas or scars, even if she doesn't show it, it's still there. And when she does, her feelings are often discredited. I'm sorry that you're going through that, Mimi. It can be very difficult, for people to understand another's trauma or pain. It's just like Dr. Shelton said, people they have blinders on. They don't understand or see your experience. And they don't even know that you're going through anything, you know. Dr. Shelton, do you have anything to comment off of that?
Well, Mimi, I would say, I mean, there's probably no right answer. There's maybe a few wrong answers, but we won't go there. You need, I think, I mean, again, some people were saying about my book, I talk about bullies, I talk about what I might have done, but I didn't give any advice on what to do in the moment if it were to happen to somebody, because maybe I don't even know that. Having a friend, having a safe place to talk, maybe that's your mom and dad. It probably could have been my mom and dad. Maybe my mom, I don't know about my dad, but I didn't go there because I didn't want the rejection, I suppose. So I kept things internal. You're true. I mean, like just what I'm saying about being bullied and remembering that's like a tattoo. The tattoos I have a few, really were painful when I got them. But over time, I don't feel them anymore. But when I think about it, I do remember the pain. So, I would say don't internalize totally. Try to find friends. You may later in life reach out to somebody who went through the same thing and they never shared it. And then you think, oh, the life we could have had we shared that with each other, because we went through the same thing and the strengths we might have gotten from each other. Find out what your resources are. And maybe they're another person, maybe they're, religion. I mean, I don't know the answers, because my way of doing it might not work for other people, but.
Yeah, very good. Thank you, Mimi. So, Dr. Shelton, what was it like finally putting your story down on paper? What was that experience like? Where did you find healing? What was the process like?
Good question. I've been asked that. Like, is that why I wrote it, for the healing, for the, getting past it? I don't think so. I mean, I think that I know that I'm not the only one. And obviously now I especially know I'm not the only one, because so many people shared their relatively horror stories about growing up with being bullied. There must be a lot more people who've been bullied than there are numbers of people who are bullies. But I even dedicate my book to the bullies, or people who might want to be a bully. And I wonder where that comes from. Why do we hate? Why do we want to make fun of people? But then the other thing about that, this implicit bias that we all have. I had some friends that I thought were gay. We didn't even know what that was growing up. And I didn't associate closely with them because I didn't want that connection, that people then would think that of me because I associated with them. And then I realized all I have to do is walk in a room. So it's not like I have to tell anybody anything. But that implicit bias that we have, is it because we see somebody blonde and we think of a blonde joke? Is it somebody heavy or skinny, and that where our mind takes us? We can't help that. Implicit bias is with us. I don't know where it comes from, if it comes from our rearing with our parents, but like you say, things that you went through growing up. Is it that it's just a difference? Being fat, being thin, being black, being yellow, being red, being not so smart. The other thing I realized in my book is that I thought I was the smartest boy in first grade. And I later learned that I was not. Probably closer to the dumbest. But the biases that we have play with us and, flavor, color our relationships and what we think of people and how we relate to people. And they're totally wrong generally. Why is that? I mean, is it because of somebody coming from a foreign country and they don't speak like we do? But they could be brilliant in their language, and I just don't speak their language. So how do I know how smart they are? I can't tell a joke to somebody if they don't have my background, because they wouldn't find it funny, and it might not be a very nice thing to say. Implicit bias is maybe where the bullying comes from. That somebody's different, we don't like them. Why don't they? It's very strange. As in nursing and some of the things I've done as a nurse, I've seen inside people's bodies, and do you know, we are pretty much all the same on the inside. The outside color, the outside shape, we're pretty much the same on the inside, and our body parts can be exchanged. So why don't we get along with the differences? Because that's what makes the world go round. I worry.
Yes, it's so true. Do you feel that being gay and your sexuality was the reason you were targeted growing up?
I would have to say probably absolutely, but I don't think we knew that then. I mean, I was precocious. I say I was smart. Maybe I was, maybe I wasn't. Early in life, you learn what makes you popular, and getting a red star or a blue star or a gold star on your paper when the teacher hands them back, that makes you popular for a moment because you're smart. I was a joke teller, and for some reason I could remember things. Now I can't remember the punchline, but I was smart. I was creative. I was artistic. And, first, second, third, fourth grade, that made me popular. And I loved that popularity, of course. Then I couldn't throw a softball to, more than 40 feet when we had to do the president's thing in grade school. I could run because I could run away from you. I wasn't good at anything athletics. And then suddenly, hormones and everything in the middle of grade school, your bodies start developing different parts. And mine didn't quite do that. Oh, wait, that was never me. So I became obviously different. And the gay thing probably because, we don't choose these things, which I know scientifically, but I'm sure that was it. But we didn't know it then. I mean, this is a long time ago. But even then, I mean, called a pansy. I guess that's pretty clear. But why wouldn't it be like, look at Gary, how colorful his clothing is? And
Yeah.
I didn't have glasses yet, so it wasn't that, a new pair of glasses every week. But I was made fun of because I wore bell bottoms, and that was fashion. So, I was made fun of because I had a Tom Jones silk shirt. Why would somebody make fun of me because I was being fashionable? I went to Chicago to get fancy clothes, things like that. But yeah, that is probably exactly why. It no longer mattered that I was or wasn't smart, unless you were going to cheat off of my test paper, then maybe it mattered. So yeah, the differences were easy to point out, and they were.
Yes, definitely. And, that could be a tough experience growing up with that, especially like you said, you're just trying to be fashionable, and me, I love a good, I love it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I could see if, I went to school in drag or something, but not if I'm in something that you would see on a runway on a guy and, want to buy it yourself because it's fashionable. Yeah, I thought that was odd. But I was, like you were saying, I was able to internalize some of this in a good way and think, look, sit back. And in my self-reflection, I could be thinking, I wonder why you're like you are and why you would say that to me and what you get out of it. And, don't you see how hateful it is or painful it can be? When you go home, do you count how many times you bullied somebody? I mean, I don't get what a bully is all about. Although we have a lot of bullies to see these days, but they aren't going away. They've been around since Cain and Abel, I suppose.
Yeah, they just grew up, and it's funny because I had an aha moment I think probably last year, where I was like, why are all these leaders so mean? You know, why are they so nasty? And then I think back to my childhood and I'm like, wait, they're about the same age as the people who bullied me growing up. And so I'm just like, oh, you know what? They just grew up and got good jobs.
Somehow it was reinforced.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm like, oh, the same mentality, same tactics, the same attitudes, you know, just different form now, you know. So, like you said, it hasn't gone away, but we have to face it and see it in different arenas of our life. You know, so it's different in presentation, and it's also different in the way we handle it. You know, I feel there's a lot of bullies at work, you know, a lot of bullies in industries and people that you have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. And it could be quite exhausting, you know.
Right. And even in a safe environment like work-related bullying, and you have those phone numbers to call, and you have that safe way to report somebody, and but it's still happening. So why is that, you know?
Yeah, so true. One of the things that struck me about your book is your vulnerability. So what gave you the courage to be so open about your struggle?
Good question also, because I didn't write it to become the face of a bully who makes it. Although I guess I could be, and if I were, I'd be proud to be. I didn't write it to heal. I didn't write it to be a narcissist or, you know, look what happened to me. But I just always felt like it's part of development. A friend has like a Sioux Indian saying that, I mean, and we'd all agree, who we are today is because of everything we've been through. And that he would even include in utero and our genetics and everything. If we hadn't experienced some of the things we experienced, we wouldn't be who we are today. I wouldn't be answering the question of why I wrote this book if I hadn't had the experiences that I'm writing about in the book. But, you know, I would question, and you know, we don't have a Wayback Machine and we can't go back to the future, but I wish, you know, like, if I hadn't been bullied by my third grade teacher, I would be somebody different. And maybe I'd be better different than the different, you know, that I am. But even then I watched him or her, that third grade teacher, and I'm thinking, why would he or she say that to the class about me? It's in the book. It's like, you know, so even then I could kind of think, even though the bully my age bullies, I was afraid of, and, you know, afraid to go back to school, but I could still self-reflect. I could still think to myself, how weird that is that they would say that or do that, or what are they getting out of that? Again, I didn't want to confront them because then I'd be beaten up, or, you know, I couldn't go out during recess or something, but just the whole understanding people. I mean, that's what we do as nurses. We anticipate your needs before you have to ask for them. I know if I'm giving you a drug that makes you sick to your stomach, you better have an anti-nausea medicine, and I'm going to prescribe it for you. But you don't have to ask for it. I've already done it. I know that this is scary. I know, you know, that. So the communication piece is, I guess that's really what I learned through all of this. I think that, you know, you communicate to connect. The point of, you know, existing with other people, and interesting different people, is how to communicate and connect with them. You know, I want to learn from you as much as I want to share with you. I'm not a narcissist. I have not gone that that route, but I don't mind talking about myself, and I don't shy away from asking you things because I want to know more about you. So, you know, we learn from each other, and otherwise boring. But anyway, I think that's kind of why I wrote the book, getting back to that question an hour ago, that I'm remembering these moments, and I know that they impacted my life, of course. And I wish I had done something different about them throughout those moments. But I wonder, would I be the same person? I pray to God and thank him or her. I thank God that I have the ability to do what I have done, and I always have, the skill set that I have, to be able to see, through other people, into other people, and to communicate with other animals. I think that's the whole point of the book. And again, there's not a lot of carnage. Some people have wanted more carnage. Like, how did you really feel, Gary? How did you, I'm going to come out with another book and really go into carnage. But the point wasn't how horrible I felt, but that it was happening. And so then you can read it, and you don't have to think how horrible I felt. You can think, wow, I had the same experience in a different way, but the same. And then how did you get through it? Did you, you didn't go home and cry to your mother because you didn't tell her. So how did you didn't tell your sister. So how did you get through it? So that's really the point of the book. My first book was all about self-reflection and, streams of consciousness. So I'm still on that theme because I want you to be entertained by my writing, but I also want you to think about yourself.
Yes. Wow. That's powerful. I love how you turned your pain into power. And so many times we can feel like, why did I have to go through this? Why did I have to suffer this? Why do these people treat me this way? But for myself, even I've looked back at my life and people that have mistreated me or hurt me throughout my life. And I'm actually grateful because, like you said, it turns you into who you are today. And, and I think if I didn't have those experiences, would I still be, Dr. D today, out here helping others and advocating and fighting the good fight. So I think that, you really made a powerful statement with that. So thank you.
Yeah.
We're going to go into our second break of the evening. I can't believe how fast this hour goes by. But everybody stay tuned for more Pink Table Talk with Dr. Gary Shelton.
Join us for a captivating new series where Lawin sits down with the trailblazers of the music and entertainment world. Discover the stories behind the faces and voices that shape our culture and community.
We will bring you exclusive interviews with industry legends and rising stars. Behind the scenes insights and get a peek into the creative processes and personal journeys. Artists and performers and their upcoming shows and events.
Stay tuned for more updates and sneak peeks. Follow us on social media and subscribe to our channel. Filing taxes, dealing with tax debt, or facing IRS actions is stressful, but you don't have to go it alone. Call 832-674-0829 or visit www.taxresolutionesq.com.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Pink Table Talk. Tonight, we've been talking with Dr. Gary Shelton, who wrote a book titled, "Oh, Wait, That Was Never Me," which retells his story on bullying and dealing with some traumas throughout his childhood, being bullied and made fun of because of his sexuality and who he chooses to love. Let's see if we have, okay. So before we left off for the break, we talked about turning that pain into purpose. So for those out there who may be being bullied now, whether for their color, their size, their sexuality, what advice would you give to those currently struggling with bullies?
I think, well, the times are different now than when I was young. In a lot of ways, of course. I don't know necessarily better. I mean, I was immediately thinking of social media. Social media is not always our friend, and that sometimes can be as hurtful as the bullying in the seat next to us. But I think that, I mean, there's more energy into taking care of people who have been bullied, creating a safe space to talk about being bullied, there's always been social work, or there's always been the principal, or there's always been people who are supposedly there for us to help us, with our troubles. I mean, kids go through all kinds of things. One of the girls I was talking to help me remember some of my bullying, she was made fun of because her hair was too pretty. And somebody from behind her had a pair of scissors and cut a big gap out of her hair. I mean, I think it's funny in a way. Of course, I don't have any hair. But for her, it was very traumatic, of course. And then the girl with the hair, laughing, and everybody's laughing. That doesn't seem as painful as some of my bully episodes, but for that girl, it absolutely was. And then what do you do about that? So, I know I'm rambling. I don't know if I'm making any sense. I didn't talk to my mom and dad. I didn't talk to my sister and go home after school and share something horrible that had happened to me and that I was afraid to go back to school tomorrow. But I could have, I think. I mean, well, my mother, surely. Now, maybe sometimes parents do not support, what we go through and claim it's our fault and you should have fought back, and like your sister would have fought for you. But I didn't think that would help. Find someone that you can talk to. And if it immediately, without blurting out a whole big story, sort of feel the waters. A good friend, maybe somebody that you've seen be bullied or whatever, that you can sort of commiserate with. But, whether it's a pastor or a rabbi or anything religion, or if it's just, something spiritual, if somehow you're not alone. Yeah. Obviously, we're not alone. This is happening all the time, everywhere. Somebody must have some insight that can help with that. Just to know you're not alone probably helps. Again, I can't give a lot of good advice because it's things I remember that I would have done differently. And yet I'm afraid if I had done them differently, I wouldn't be on this show with you today talking about these things. But sometimes you become the poster child, and maybe that's a good thing. We need to know there is that person who will stand up for us. And sometimes maybe you don't and you keep quiet. But even if you're quiet, I hope that you have some outlet.
Yes.
Friend. Maybe it's something internal, like being creative and painting, or reading a book like mine and getting some insight and self-reflection, and something to and I'm when you're deep in the middle of feeling bad, it's hard to see your resources and how to go for help. But when you feel a little better, when you've sort of gotten through it, look around. I bet there's somebody that can help as a friend. Maybe they don't have the answers, but
yes. No, that's really good. Yeah, I think it's wonderful. I think people should reach out and talk to somebody if they can. The story about the hair, that was really something that reminded me of an experience I had as a child. And so I remember as a child, African-American women, we have kinky curly hair, I had my natural hair out, and this was, I think, in 8th grade. And some girls sat behind me and they were making fun of my kinky curly hair. And they were like, oh, it looks so matted, it looks so bad. And so I remember just going home crying, and I told my mother about it. And this was the first time I had ever opened up to my mom about anything. And my mother, she's a stern Scorpio woman. So she's not the type of person that takes things lightly. So when I told her, she said, oh, well, I got a fix for that. And I was like, really? It was just shocking to me. And so she was like, well, let's just perm your hair and, straighten it out and everything. And so, she did that for me. And to me, I didn't care so much about what the girls had to say the next day in class. My hair was looking silky and pretty, but it was I felt supported by my mother in that moment, and I felt like it was the first time we really bonded. It was a problem she could fix. You know, she's like, oh, I got a quick solution for that. Let's just put this up and make it silky and pretty. You know, and so they didn't bother me anymore about the hair. But for me, it was a impactful moment of bonding and that support from my mother. So in that moment and in that instant, I was glad I reached out and I talked to her, you know.
Exactly. I think that, you know, it probably didn't matter so much what her advice was or what she did, but you had that moment together. For you, you shared something that had troubled you. Wouldn't matter what it was. And for her, she had something to say about it in a good way. And, you know, it wouldn't matter really so much of the episode and what really happened, but it was the bonding thing, like you say. I think, you know, my friend that I sort of ignored growing up, I wish we'd been closer then, because we probably could have helped each other a lot more.
Yeah. It's a real thing. You know, we do still have young teenagers, young people, you know, who are being bullied for their differences. They are still, you know, taking their lives. They're isolating themselves. You know, like you said, with the social media, you know, bullies, they've transformed. They have newer ways, more access now to bully people. And so it still is a very huge problem, you know, in this country, especially among the younger generation. Do you feel that having community support, mentors, or peer support will help combat this bullying epidemic, I would say?
I mean, well, it has to, right? I mean, how could it not, for one? But, you know, part of it, I think, is also how kind we are to ourselves.
Ooh,
you know, I was just thinking while you were saying that, part of my not growing up quickly to be very masculine was grounds for being bullied and being called names. And, you know, in a way, I kind of deserved it because those names related to what I looked like or how I acted, even though we might question why would that even be known. But I didn't like it either about myself. I didn't want to be like that. You couldn't have stopped me from going to Chicago and buying nice clothes when I could, and being fashionable no matter what. And if you made fun of me for that, I could get that. But I wanted to look good in a Speedo on the beach. You know, that was never me. I wanted to be I didn't really want to be a football player, and I didn't care that I couldn't throw a softball, but because, you know, sports really aren't that interesting to me, other than they make a lot more money than you and I do. So maybe we did pick the wrong field, but I didn't like myself being like that. It wasn't, you know, I mean, again, I know that I didn't choose this. You know, we are born this way, but I didn't like it that I was. So I could kind of almost side with the bullies for making fun of me because of the reason they were, because I might have done the same thing. So, you know, what is the answer here? Is it the implicit bias? Is it that we will always have bullies? Is it, you know, it's very strange to me for the advice I would give. We do not live under a rock, and we shouldn't. And, you know, if there's no way that you see any kind of support, there's got to be somewhere that you can find it, you know?
Yes. Yeah, I agree. That's really great. Yes, please, if you are being bullied out there, please seek help, seek some support. But I love what you said, you know, that self-love, you know, it does start with you, you know, learn to accept yourself, love yourself, and then reach out for support if you are feeling isolated or struggling with the bullying. We're going to take our final break of the evening, but we're going to come back with some last words with Dr. Gary Shelton.
For divorce and family law in Texas, Liggett Dizon Law Firm PC will guide you every step of the way.
From initial consultation to detailed review of your case and strategic planning.
will sit with you during negotiations or mediations, and represent you in court.
Whether it is a family law, estate planning, or immigration, we will be there to guide through the final steps.
So, leave your legal matters behind you and embrace your future.
You can contact Liggett Dizon Law Firm PC at 346-5454-346 or visit DizonLawFirm.com.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Pink Table Talk. We've been having a delightful conversation tonight on a very tough subject with Dr. Gary Shelton, talking about his new book, Oh Wait, That Was Never Me, a book talking about his experiences with bullying.
I guess it's backwards if I show it that way, right?
That looks great. I really love the cover art. It's so beautiful.
A painting by me.
Wow.
A little boy in the corner feeling pretty lonely.
Yes. Yeah, that really is heart-wrenching. Just the picture kind of draws you into the whole experience. Yeah. Wow. Beautiful, beautiful artwork. Very beautiful, very touching. So Gary, Oh, go ahead.
I did I was an artist. I didn't even want to go to college right away from high school. Well, I wasn't going to live in a dorm and be made fun of in that small space. But I was an artist. I was creative. I thought I would have a chain of museums across the country with only my art in them, like McDonald's. I thought that's what I would do. So I was able to, maybe that's pretty isolating because an artist maybe you're by yourself and you're doing your thing alone. But that was how I could sort of express myself. And by able to express myself, I grew of being a human being and, that I had something to offer. I always thought I did, but it made me feel more like I did, or that you could see that I had something to offer if you didn't think so otherwise. So that sort of allowed me to feel more human, more normal. I've never felt normal, but I kind of wonder what that even feels like. But oh wait, that was never me. So the advice again that I think people should have is we do make decisions that maybe are not so good, but most of who we are, we didn't choose that. We didn't choose our mom and dad. We didn't choose the location where we live. So live with it, be that, own it. That's who you are. And then what can you do with it? Be like us, become doctors. Let's see where we can go.
Yes. Oh, I love it. Dr. Shelton. You're putting that power into the pain, where it's a transformation, and that not all sad stories have a bad ending. You're proof. I guess you can say you and I are proof that good things can come out of places of hurt, places of challenge. I feel that it can be that driving force that pushes people to become something better and to do better in this world. And so, I love the fact that, you thank your bullies in the book. And so I guess I want to thank the bullies out there too, for showing me how to have strength and to believe in myself. It's like you say, we can't choose who we are, and for those who think it's okay to pick on people because they're different, I want people to know out there that it's not okay. We should love and accept people for those differences, because that's what makes each of us unique and special.
Exactly. One of the forms of humor is self-deprecating. Make fun of yourself. Make fun of yourself before somebody else does. But that shouldn't be funny.
Yes. No, that's true. I used that for a while in my late teens, early 20s. It was like, oh, I already know, what they're going to say. So let me just say it myself, so then I'm laughing with them. And so,
in a way, but you're also laughing at yourself, which, it's a way of being popular. It's a way of communicating. But
but it's not healthy. Definitely not healthy. Right. Small doses, because I do have that little bit of sarcastic, humor in me. I do kind of love, a little bit.
In the right setting, Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So thank you, Dr. Gary, for coming on the show. What is new next for you? Any upcoming projects, speaking engagements? What's next for you?
Well, actually, I'm speaking at the Chemotherapy Foundation Symposium in November here in New York City. And my topic is gender identification.
Nice.
So that's where I do talk about what the science tells us, that we are born this way. Things happen before we are breathing. So most of our beings are not societal. It doesn't happen after we're born. We're born this way. So that's kind of fun for me. And there will be a few more books, of course. The next bullying book will be a deeper dive into the carnage that people have asked me about. So I will give it to you.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure. It's so wonderful hearing from such a brilliant mind. And I thank you again. You help nurture and mentor me through my educational journey and even after. And so I thank you so much. You have a lot to give to this world. And thank you for being you and sharing your light with all of us.
Thank you. Thank you.
So
People
everybody, what's that? I'm sorry.
People can reach out.
Yes, yes. Definitely reach out to Dr. Shelton if you want to buy his book. It is available on Amazon. And then check out his speaking engagement if you happen to be in New York City. He's also available to reach out if you want to have any questions. He does have a really interesting blog on his website. So he talks about different stories and experiences that he went through. So definitely check him out. It's very inspiring writings and his beautiful artwork too. So we need to see you at a museum showcase someday.
I'll be there.
Wonderful. So thank you all again for watching tonight. Remember, the show is produced by Lawin Media Network. We're live every Wednesday at 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern. You can catch us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch TV, and all podcast platforms. So I hope to see you all next week. Thank you again for tuning in. Everybody have a good night.